My name is Chris Meddings, and welcome to episode 12 of The Model Philosopher. Firstly, an apology for the extended 6-week absence of the show. As many of you know, I also run ITA3, a producer of 3D printed accessories for armour and aircraft models, and I have been exceptionally busy in October and November preparing for and training at Scale Model Challenge, our sponsors on this show, and also at Scale Model World, the UK IPMS national show. In fact, this is a special episode as I will be talking to Robert Crombeecke from Scale Model Challenge and hearing all about this show and what to expect maybe next year. So let's not waste any more time and let's hear from Robert now. Welcome, Robert, to The Model Philosopher, or welcome again, Robert, to The Model Philosopher, whichever you prefer.
Hello again,
As the
Chris.
sponsor, I'm contractually obliged to have you. No, I'm joking.
No, you're not. Do we have a contract? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for asking me again. So yeah.
Now, I wanted to get you on because I wanted you to talk about SMC, and quite often we have you on to talk about what's going to happen at the show and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've wanted to interview at the show about the show, but of course you're always too busy. So I thought we could do kind of an after show thing where you've had a chance to think about it, how you think it went, and have a talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Great show on Earth. And and maybe listeners can get an even better idea of what happened and what will happen next year and everything else. So,
as if we have a plan for next year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, like this, but better, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
That's a short version, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's no secret now that this year was a great success. How do you think it went?
It went very well. I think we broke. Well, I don't think we know we broke all of our records. In terms of visitors, in terms of participation in the contest, and number of models in the contest, the balance between figures and ordnance hasn't changed. It's still 2/3, 1/3, but the total was just enormous, and we were very surprised that we could still manage to put everything on the table, on the tables. More or less, except for some ships. I think we had to add some tables for that. But yeah, we had the team during the build-up was phenomenal. Even though we had a couple of new guys in the team, we had some external help as well. Well, I would say that during the build-up, everything went flawless. Every problem, if there was any, was solved immediately, and not just by me but by others, which is a very refreshing idea, because in the past it was a lot like, oh, Robert this and Robert that, and drives you crazy because you're just running from left to right and without doing anything, just answering questions and helping out. And this time it was, every time I asked somebody, have you thought about this, and they raised their hand, and I think they just said, just go away. And then I went to somebody else. I said, did you do that? Already been taken care of. So, hey, I didn't say much. I didn't do much. I was just walking around like a headless chicken. Not so much during build-up, but during the show itself, because everything was picked up by the team, and it was, I don't know, we were very happy. And as we always say, we always do an evaluation after the show. So we have for the club, we have a forum still. We say just throw everything on it that you want, and basically it's always like, okay, we're at well, in our country we rate in school, we rate from 1 to 10, which 10 is the highest and 1 is the lowest, and then we always say we are at a 9.5, and the only thing we can do is now make it a 9.6, or something like that. There's always small things that you can improve afterwards, but if you don't have anything to wish for, then it becomes dull. Yeah.
How many volunteers did you have this year?
89. 89.
Right.
Not all volunteers, but we had uh, some some people from security that we hired,
Mm.
and the people, the parking attendants are also hired, but all the rest were really volunteers. But altogether, there were 89 people walking around in these 4 days together. And I think at the top was on Saturday, we had something like 58, 59 people.
Hmm.
So
So most of the
not
people.
everybody's there for 4 days, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So you had a big push on the build up, and a lot of people come in for that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not so much, not that many more than last year,
Mm.
honestly. Especially on Thursday, we start because we clear out the storage. We put everything in the truck, and then we move up to NH, and from there on, we start building up. In the afternoon, we start building up the contest area, which was done actually at the
Mm.
end of the day. So I mean, we have a supper around 5:30 or something, and then go on until 8 o'clock to do some other things. So actually, it was done, and that was a first. Uh, because usually we use up half the Friday as well to do the rest of the contest, but wasn't necessary. And then so Fridays we could build up the rest of the show. Uh, and to be honest, the technical staff from NH, they put down the tables for us, so we don't have to do the lifting and everything else. We just do the decoration. Let's put it that way. So,
Mm.
but that was also done very early on Friday morning, and that's when really the hard part starts, because then the biggest job is done, and then there are a lot of people that are there, and some of them really see work, and some people can find their own work,
Yeah.
but there are also others, and that's just how it is, that need to be persuaded or uh, hinted to do this or that and that. But in general, everybody did the job fantastically. We were just over the moon on Sunday evening, because I think on
Mm.
Sunday, even when we were breaking down, we were ready at 7:30 in the evening.
I was going to say your
So,
breakdown's really fast, isn't it? 2 hours, something like that.
well, actually, I wouldn't know, because when we start the award ceremony at
Mm.
3:45 every year, um, then usually the traders start breaking down the stands and whatever. So then it already starts, and people can take the models from the
Mm.
tables by then. So by the time I'm done, it's what, 5:30 or so. So part of the job is already done. And
Mm.
when I come back to the halls, then a lot of tables are already cleared from the black cloths that we put on them. So things go really fast, and then again, the biggest job is to break down the contest stuff, because obviously we have to wait until all the models are gone, and that may take a while sometimes. But in general, it goes very fast, because I can imagine, everybody wants to go home.
Mm.
So if they can take the models from the tables, they will. So yeah,
Well, a lot of people drive straight home after the show, don't they? So they want to
yeah,
get their stuff and get going. So
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
there's a small number of people that keep hanging around until Monday,
Mm.
because they have a flight on Monday, or the boat, the ferry back to the UK, or whatever. But so it's still nice to hang out in the bar, um, so you can have some quiet, more easy conversations. So it's not as crowded as it is in the days
Yeah,
before. But yeah,
bit more relaxed on the Sunday, isn't it?
exactly. Although it's tiresome, but normally I'm dead meat like at 11 o'clock in the evening on Sunday, and
Mm.
uh, I think they threw us out in 1:15 on the Sunday as well.
That's quite
Because
late, yeah.
yeah, because I was having a quite a long chat with TJ Holler
Mm.
from the Plastic Posse podcast on a Sunday in the bar about a lot of things, and yeah, I don't know. The evening was very. I was only until I think Monday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because on Monday I was off. I still had to bring all the stuff back to the storage, and put my own stuff back. That would anyway, and at 3 o'clock or so, I was sitting at my desk, and I was like falling asleep on the yeah, behind, yeah. But just, yeah, it was just a fantastic weekend, and think that's my problem during a weekend like that is that I don't think I sleep. I always said 20, but I don't even think I reach 15 or 16 hours of sleep in those 4 days
Mm.
because I think on Saturday night I slept, I don't know, maybe 2 hours or 3 hours. Friday night, same thing. So if I lose my voice or whatever, it's not because I drink too much, but it's because I have to take care. I'm not getting younger, so
Yeah.
I have to take care of what I'm doing. But it's yeah, the lack of sleep is more the thing, and I don't know why. Because everything was fixed and everything was ready, and there wasn't much to worry about. But you just go to bed at maybe 1 p.m. or whatever, 1:30, and then you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you can't get back to sleep because you start thinking about trivial stuff that nobody really
Mm.
cares about. And that will resolve anyway because I've already written it down that I have to think of this and this and this. I have a to-do list every day on at the show. Small list. It's not even that long. But my head.
Subconscious anxiety, I suppose, that something will go wrong or that you forgot something. Or
Well, maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know, but whatever. Yeah.
let's
Oh,
talk some numbers.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
okay.
how many visitors did you have this year?
Uh, well, we never know the exact number, but it's more than 5,000, and that's for
How does that
sure.
compare?
Um, I think last year we had about 3,500 something.
Wow, that's
So
quite an increase.
well, it showed, especially on the
Yeah.
Saturday. The only thing I don't know exactly is the how many people came in on were there on Saturday and how many were
Mm.
there on Sunday. But on Sunday it was a little bit less, or it was less, and you could actually walk on a Sunday. But on Saturday it was sometimes really packed at some
Yeah.
areas. So yeah,
How many models in the contest?
2,772.
Mm. So again, an
That's
increase on last year, I think.
Yeah, because last year, because I saw my notes at the from the last year's presentation, and then we had 2,340 or something, or 2,240,
Mm.
whatever. So it's 400 or 500 more this year,
The
which is
interesting thing this year was the growth area, though. It's just the biggest was, or one of the biggest was aircraft, is that right?
exactly, yeah. I think I also mentioned that the award ceremony. I'm not sure if I did, but
Mm.
this is the first year we had more aircraft than AFVs in the contest. So for a show that's, well, I mean, I know we're more considered to be a figure show, which we're not a figure show. We're really a mixed show.
Mm.
But coming from military, because the first SMC was called Military Scale Model Challenge, if I remember well. Uh, uh, Coming from that, yeah, and the year after, in 2008, we had this the Dutch classic a- model airplane throwing competition.
Now, I've
Uh,
heard
uh,
of this, but for listeners who haven't,
yeah, well, the thing is, and I know they used to do that at a show in the Czech Republic at the time. They had a model throwing contest. So basically, a model that you screwed up, you could bring to the contest, and the thing was just throw it as far away as possible. That's it. Um, and we kind of borrowed that idea for our second show, and we call it the the classic Dutch model airplane throwing competition, whatever name we had to give to it, and it had to be something nice. And uh, some people brought their own aircraft that they screwed up, and we had a guy in the club that had a few boxes full of aircraft that he built in the, I don't know, 2,000 years ago probably, so they were used as well. And the guy that won the contest was actually a guy from a club. Uh, how would you call that? They from the club. The club is called Wheels, and they have genuine uh, World War II army vehicles. And they were display at the show, static display outside with the vehicles, and that guy won. There's still photos. There's still photos around to prove that. But anyway, but a lot of people, especially aircraft builders, held that against us, and that was for a long time. So
well, the holy aircraft, you can't mess with.
Well, but the thing is, we started off as a military modeling show because we all came from a
Mm,
diorama background, or most of us were diorama builders, and we know that there was an IPMS in the Netherlands, and we thought, okay, let's not screw up. I mean, the country's too small to have. Well, we weren't that big, but we had big dreams. We thought, okay, the world is too small to have two similar shows, and so we said we're going to focus on military and figures, and let IPMS do the
mm.
aircraft thing. Uh, but we had a lot of clubs as well where you have mixed. Yeah, well, in every club there are people build a lot of different stuff. So
Yeah.
eventually we let that idea go as well. I mean, it's ridiculous actually. So to
Mm.
focus on just one subject or two, or dismiss other subjects for whatever reason. And so, but yeah, I think a couple of years ago I still had a discussion with a guy that says, a German guy that said to me, "Yeah, well, there's still some German aircraft builders that still hold that against you." And I think I said, "Come on,
Germans
guys."
with long memories. Come on.
Yeah, some not long enough, but yeah. But I said, "Listen, it's almost 15 years ago. Come on, give us a
Yeah,
break."
yeah.
But now we were lucky enough to have a lot of Eastern European
Mm.
contest participants as well. A lot of them brought aircraft, but also AFE, and it was we had a growth in a lot of the classes actually. I think also ships was, I mean, not enormous, but it was much
It was
bigger than it
definitely
was
bigger
before.
this year.
Well,
Yeah, yeah,
you judged it before,
yeah.
so yeah, and some really nice ones. We had a large number of Asian visitors and participants in the
Yes, yeah, yeah.
competition, which I think is also always very interesting because
I think
they
particularly from Taiwan, Japan, and Singapore this year.
Japan, yeah, and China,
Yeah.
mainland China as well.
Mm.
Yeah, so yeah, it was quite nice actually, and a lot of Americans this year.
Yeah.
Also a growing group, and but I think in the competition we had I think 700, and I have to look this up, 708 participants in the competition from 39 different countries.
Wow. And
Well,
literally all
two
over
two
the world, I
filled two
think.
two filled out other in the list of countries that they could choose from because they weren't in the list, and I think one was from, shoot, what was it again? I don't know. It wasn't on the list. I think it was a South American country, and
Uh, oh,
uh,
right. Excellent.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it's just funny. Yeah, it's just great to see such a diverse crowd and diverse styles and interpretations of the hobby, because that's one of the things that I like when the Asians come. I saw that at the Motion
Mm.
show this year as well. That you saw really some really nice creative things that you hardly see, especially in the diorama section, that you don't see much more here, or not too. It could be more actually.
Mm.
So yeah, and so I was happy that that they came along as well. But some nice aircraft builders as well, ship builders. So yep, happy, happy, happy.
Did you ever imagine when you started this, the first year, you'd be having people from 39, 49, whatever it is, countries coming to your show?
I was happy enough that people from Belgium and Germany came, and France, and then the UK. It's yeah, that was about the scope that I was looking for. If you draw a circle of 400 or 300 kilometers around Eindhoven, I mean, you're in all these countries. Oh, well,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe just not in France. Okay, let's say 400. No, well, no, 300, because Belgium is not that big. Yeah, and 300 kilometers,
Yeah.
you're already in France. So, or in the UK. Well, you have to swim a bit, but yeah, but yeah, that's it. So, and of course, if you go to the east in Germany, 300 kilometers. I mean, it's the most dense populated area in Germany,
Mm.
the Ruhr area, which is not too far from us as well. So I was kind of hoping for that. That was it. But that people would be coming from Asia or as far as New Zealand, even, or Australia as
Yeah.
well, um, and repeatedly. I mean, it's not that they come every year, although,
Yeah, they come back.
and they come back, and I think
Yeah,
that's
they don't
that's
just come
that's
once.
rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's that we bring something that other shows don't. Because you know what I think, no, I've been thinking about it. What makes our show so different? Obviously, the venue offers everything that you need.
Mm.
It has a hotel, and yes, it's always full. I know that, but yeah, you can never have enough rooms in the hotel. But so the hotel's always full, but it has a hotel there. You can have your dinners there. You can go out as well. The bar is there, so the whole social aspect is something that works a lot, and that's something that's not um, our doing per se. I think we created a show where people feel comfortable, happy, welcome, and that the word spreads. So it's a show where people want to be, and where people want to be, more people will come. So it's not just our doing, but it's also the whole setting, and part is our doing because we try to make people feel welcome and at home. Because Margot and we always say during the show, we stay there for 4 days. We stay from Thursday, we leave on Monday, and we see everybody that comes there as a guest in our home. That sounds a bit
Mm.
cheesy, I know, but it's really what we really feel that. I mean, people can probably, it's hard to imagine when you just organize a model show, a scale modeling show, that you have that feeling, but it's really the feeling that we have, that we want to welcome everybody in our home. Because NH after 10, well, 10, 15, 14 years does feel like our home once a year.
It's odd because something I hear a lot of shows sell themselves on, particularly one I'm going to next weekend or the past weekend by the time this goes out, sells itself on the fact that you'll see X amount of models there. You go to look at all the models. But I think with SMC, obviously you go to see the models. But for me, you go to see the people because it's such, all your friends are there. There is this incredible welcome from you and Margot and the team that really does feel like going to someone's home and
Yeah.
having a fantastic dinner party thrown for you, and looked
Mm.
after and pampered and what have you. Um, but you go because the people you want to be with are there,
Yeah.
and that's
Exactly.
something that only comes from word of mouth. Only comes from putting
Yeah.
on a really good show that other people say you got to come.
Yeah.
We have a fantastic time there,
Exactly.
but
That's
it's
it.
also something that's really hard to describe to people that have never been
True.
because it is so different from other shows.
That's. I can imagine that people would say if you live in the U.S. or
Mm.
even in the UK, or maybe
Yeah.
I also still read on some things from one of the guys sent me a screenshot from a discussion on whatever forum or whatever it was, or on Facebook, from a Dutch guy that says, "Yeah, but it's quite a travel there," and he lives. I think
Yeah,
it's 90 minutes away. I mean, even in England, you laugh about it. In France, you laugh about 90 minutes, and in the States, they probably, they die laughing from saying, "Oh, but it's 1.5 hours driving."
that's like going out to get milk for Americans, right?
About, yeah,
It's
well, yeah,
local.
in most,
Yeah,
yeah, that's local, exactly.
yeah,
So, and that's something I can't get my head around. I mean, you have the opportunity to see the best of the best
yeah.
of everything. Doesn't matter what, if you build Gundam or ships or you paint figures, the best of the best are there, and you just say, ah, yeah, well, can't bother because of the travel. Okay, well, it's their miss, not mine. But yeah, it's a shame because the thing is that I started the show, or me and Roy, we started the show at one point because we wanted to show in the Netherlands that there is more than a quick, dirty wash over an armored vehicle and dry brushing, and that there are
Yeah.
other figures that you can paint than a Waffen-SS bust.
From Linden, probably.
Yes. Yeah, but I say I'm not even saying it as a joke. That was really our intention, to show
Yeah.
the Dutch modeling community that there is more than that basic stuff.
Mm.
And yeah, well, unfortunately, people still hang in that era. They're still there, and others have progressed, and probably that's also the reason why our show is popular by a lot of people. And we also, I think we also did a lot of promotion. We went to a lot of shows or not a lot, but we targeted at some shows that we really promoted ourselves as SMC, not so much as our club, Skill Model Factory, but as a show. And maybe that paid off as well. You never know, but we've been standing actually in front of the stand, handing out
Yeah.
flyers, stopping people. Do you know our show? And that's what I always say at the about when we are at the IPMS show in the Netherlands. It's like, and it's only a month after SMC, and we're there with a stand, and we're standing in front of it, and then we stop people because they look at our models that we have on the table, and we have a TV screen with stuff running, footage running from SMC, and we say, okay, you built yourself, and do you know our show? And no, we don't know your show. Is it new? And I think, okay, not really, but I do get the feeling that there are more, and we have because I see the ticket sales, and we sold a lot of tickets to Dutch people as well. So, I'm jokingly referring to IPMS, but I think we're getting more and more Dutch people in as well. Because before we always had the idea that a lot of the visitors were quote foreigners,
Yeah.
um, but I think the majority was Dutch this time. Really, if I look at the tickets sold to Dutch people, yeah, I think so. Should be, must be.
Do you think attitudes in modelling are changing? Do you think this idea of just taking a historic vehicle, building it, finishing it, is obviously it's still a big thing, but
Mm.
it's not the such a dominant thing as it was a few years ago?
It depends on which team you are. I think. I
Mm.
think there's still a huge group of people that just want to build his, either historically correct is maybe not the biggest group, but they just want to build some piece of history. Uh, and I think what I always call the hardcore part of the hobby, they take it a step further. They step away from the old methods and the old techniques and the old thinking. But I think the majority is still the same as it was 20 years ago. I think that's my opinion. Yeah, and it's not a bad thing in itself. Huh?
Mm.
I mean, it's just a way of thinking. But because maybe you and I, we we meet a lot of the hardcore people, you tend to think that the whole hobby is changing that much. But
Oh, I don't think the hobby will ever go all hardcore. All
no,
people
it
that
won't.
that
Never.
really invest a lot more in it. What I mean is, I think it's a generational thing. I hate to say it because I hate people that talk about generations, but
It
I think
is.
younger modelers just aren't as invested in building a vehicle. They either want to tell stories, or they want to do fantasy, or they want to do
Yeah,
something
yeah. I
new,
mean,
something different.
yeah. Well, your son plays. You play Warhammer with
Yeah,
him, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So, and I think I do think there will be changes. There will be some changes in the future. I mean, there's a lot of people interested in Gundam and the MAK thing a little bit less, but Gundam is rising. It's a bit of
it's the
it's
MAK like Gundam for historical models
yeah.
because you can still pay it like a Panzer, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, yeah, yeah. True, true, true. But so you see a shift. You'll see. I think a shift in the future. I think, and of course, from Warhammer, there are vehicles as well, which are easier to assemble, much faster,
Yeah,
and well, easier to paint. Is maybe the wrong. Well,
they are
the
designed to be
details.
easier to paint. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Exactly. I was listening to your interview with Tuiga,
Mm.
where he clearly said, and I never really got uh, thought about that, but he said that Games Workshop really created their figures and things that can be easily painted by boys of 12 or 14-year
Yeah.
old. That that's why they make the details as they are now still.
Mm.
But you see even all these Warhammer Games Workshop figures. There is so much great painting out there with those figures nowadays. It's really amazing.
And
You
they
know,
might be designed to be easy to paint, but there's some really nice sculpt going on in some of it as well. Some of it's a bit, but
really,
a lot of it's really fantastic.
and it's up to the painter to make it better.
Yeah,
More,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
to make the difference. Yeah,
Just because you're given a canvas, you don't have to paint by numbers, do you? So
No, you
you
don't. You
can
don't. No,
paint it how you want.
exactly.
Talking of which, that's been a growth area, hasn't it?
Sorry.
Because you introduced a category, didn't you? Was it last year for under
Yeah,
what was it?
under
Under
40
50.
mil, under
That's it.
40
Yeah.
mil, because the thing is, and actually the idea came. Tuika is a good sparring partner for us. He comes no, he comes
He's
up
always
with
pushing you, though, isn't he?
yeah, yes, but rightfully so. And I think that's also one of the things that does make a difference. I mean, it's our payoff actually, making the difference. But
Mm,
that's one of the reasons we try to listen to things that are to advices or tips or whatever that we can put to use for SMC to improve the show. At least we think it will improve the show. So we're open for ideas. And Tua came up with the idea, and he said we were in Monte San Savino, I think, and he said to me, "Listen, in the fantasy, I mean, he says there are so many figures, and they're all getting bigger because they used to be, smaller scale,
yeah.
and the scale gets
Yeah. There's
bigger and bigger and
definite
bigger."
inflation going on.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
and those small gaming figures, they get just flushed away by
Mm,
the big stuff. And also, we found that didn't come from Tour, but we have some guys from the wargaming scene in our club as well. And they say we know a lot of painters that really want to join the competition, but they see all that fantasy stuff on the table and they say, well, forget about it because my stuff is not going to stand out.
mm,
So that's when we introduced the small scale fantasy. In the fantasy, we had the small. No, well, it's actually not for fantasy. It's just small scale figures of under 40 mil. So because you also have historical war games, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So those figures also apply to that category. If people want to, I don't know if there were many, probably not, but yeah, it's also open to them. It's not really limited to fantasy. But that helped us a lot. Last year it was okay. This year there
Mm,
were many more.
yeah.
Uh,
Really big this year.
yeah,
And I know some people that I follow in the Warhammer world who previously probably wouldn't have thought of going to the show, who go to what's it called, Golden Demon and
Golden
stuff like
Demon.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
They came this year, like Hendarian and some other guys, and
Although everybody always
bought their
complains
stuff.
about Golden Demon, but still they go by the
Well,
masses. Yeah,
I mean, they say modelers like to complain about competitions, but in my fantasy figure guys love complaining about competition.
everybody complains.
Yeah, yeah,
We went to Margot and I. We went to in Belgium. We went to there was a painting contest that was at the same time as a large war game tournament, world championships,
mm,
and there were some sales tables there, and I picked up some stickers that say "complaining is part of the hobby."
yeah.
So they might be right. So even in that scene, they complain a lot. So yeah, well, hey, if they don't complain about you, you're not worth complaining about. So
Actually,
that's
there
cool.
is. You could say the more complaints you get, the more successful you are, because there's the tall poppy thing as well. That the more successful you are, the more there are people that like to take a pop just because they want to be seen as the edgy one
Yeah,
going against something successful. I mean, I see a lot of people complaining about Tamiya, but I'm
yeah.
sure Tamiya aren't too worried about their sales.
No. Well, honestly, I do get if I read a negative after the show, you see 1,000 positive comments, and then there's one that pisses vinegar, and it doesn't put me off anymore, but it used to
Yeah,
because I can't make everybody happy. I'm not a pizza, so it's what it is. I mean, we tried to do it. We tried to give it our best, and not everybody wants to get the same thing out of a show.
yeah,
Some people just want to get cheap kits, secondhand kits, or partly built kits. They don't care. They just want to spend 8, 9, 10 euros on a box that normally would cost you, or back in the day would have costed you 30 or 40 euros or 50, and they're happy with that. And we don't offer that much of that. So, or people think the show is too big. I on a SMC website there's in the history section you can go back to every show that we had in the past when we have all the results,
mm,
pictures from Eric, from most of the models also this year, and then we try to find some video clips on YouTube that we link to. And there was one guy from Germany, I think, and he was very positive about the show, but he concluded with, "But I still like the smaller local shows." Well, good for him. I
Yeah.
mean, it's what I can imagine that people got crazy on Saturday in the crowd because I did. Every once in a while, when you had to go from A to B, it was impossible sometimes to go fast. You just had to wait your turn. I mean, you can't push people away, can you?
Yeah,
So
things got a bit desperate when I needed to go to the loo, and I had to kind of force my way through. It's like move, or you're going to get wet shoes.
yeah,
So,
exactly. So yeah, so that was one of the things that really made us think also about crowd management next year and things like that. Because yeah, uh, with Versailles coming up, we're not sure about how many people how many people will show up next year, but could be a little bit less, but it won't be much less, I guess. So we need to adjust some things as well.
talking of size and how you cope and things,
Yeah,
the show's getting bigger and bigger every year, but you've reached kind of a hard limit with the amount of space at
yeah,
the venue.
well, it's not getting bigger. We just
Mm.
use every inch of the space that we can use,
Yeah.
uh, but we tried to be sensible and keep the fire regulations of a
Yeah. You've got a minimum
minimum
width for
dimension.
aisles of thing,
Yeah,
haven't you? And yeah.
exactly. After the show, I got an email from somebody who was who's a firefighter, and they kind of used to think about everything that can go wrong. And he sent me a very lengthy email about all the regulations that there are and stuff like that. And I thought, come on, man, give me a break. And I was, and I was thinking it over, and I think, yeah, but there were some areas that could use a bit more air, to be
Mm.
honest. So yeah, that will. So because of that, there will be some changes next year on the floor plan. Yeah,
Can you give us any idea of what that might be, or too
yeah.
early to say?
Oh, it's not early to say. I think the whole the main change will be in the hall where the club
Mm.
section is. Uh, there will be less clubs. That's for sure. Um, and we will move uh, most of the clubs to a different section of the venue, and not all,
Mm.
but in that hall we will keep some of the clubs, and we will expand um, the 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 vendor area into that hall, as we did with the World Model Expo that we
Yeah.
organized, but not exclusively. And
Mm.
there will probably be maybe some expositions there as well from um, concept artists. That's mainly
Mm.
figure and fantasy related, but like this year we had Paul Bonner, but for next year I think we'll have at least two people more, two big names for that scene as well. So we will need some more space for that, and um, I don't think we'll expand the contest area that much. We will add some tables, but so all in all, we need to move a little. We have to make some of the aisles a bit wider as well. And I already
Mm.
got some requests from people who want larger stands than they had this year. So yeah, we have a lot of thinking to do. And personally, I wrote on the SMC website. There's a blog that we don't have many messages in there, but I wrote a blog about how well the show went, and I put some figures in there, but also some perspective on the on the future. And one of the things that I wrote is that I think that we reached um, the limit of what we different vendor stands,
Mm.
because we had over 150 vendor stands this year with 173 or 174 different vendors, because some shared the stand, and some of them I didn't even know were there, so they came unannounced. So they weren't. Well, they just joined with a guy that had two tables or one table, and
Yeah.
then they shared it. And I think, yeah, well, if they would have told me, then I would have put them on the list. But anyway, and I don't think we will expand much from that from there. Um, we'll just be a bit more picky on. Yeah, well, it's not that every year there are people that are not coming back that were there.
Yeah.
To be very honest, this year there were very few of them. I think there were, I don't know, maybe even not even a handful that were there last year and weren't there this year. No, well, maybe a bit more, but no more than 8 or 9. The rest all came back. Plus, we had a lot of new ones as well. Um, but we just have to be careful that we don't overdo it, because
Yeah.
especially in the figures section, there was a lot of well, not necessarily competition, because they're all selling their own figures, of course. But let's say that originality might be a criterion next year.
I mean, I had trouble seeing it all this year. I mean, obviously, I was behind my own stand, but I still think there was stuff I missed because there were so many vendors selling so many
I
things.
think this year I only went through the large hall where you were.
Mm.
I think we spoke briefly for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That was I saw part of that hall. Obviously, I saw the stand of Gotha Force.
The bouncy castle.
Yeah, the bouncy castle. Exactly, exactly, exactly. Um, which also upset some of the vendors that were
Behind it, I imagine.
behind them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was not all of them actually, but and we had a lot of cancellation last minute from a larger vendor, so we already moved around stuff, making the floor plan totally
Mm.
worthless in that area. But I didn't see anything of the whole where everybody thinks all the figure people are.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them are, but there was also AK, and there was also the Army
Mm.
Painter, and there was ammo, and there was there was also a lot of scale modeling things going on there. But anyway, that whole I didn't see anything. I went through it from just passing through. That's it. Didn't see anything of it. So actually, I tried to talk to all the new vendors as well every year.
Mm.
Never. I always fail. I always fail to do that. I speak to a handful of them.
Do you think the growth of the show could have any impact on the character of the show, or is that something you feel pretty confident that you can maintain?
Well, that's why I'm not looking for expansion.
Mm.
Well, first of all, at NH they used to have um, um, a plastic injection molding show just before ours, and
Oh,
then after that there was uh, a company, well, a large company, that always had their staff party after our
mm.
show. And I think they did it for 2 weekends. And then there was a pavilion, a temporarily pavilion, placed next to one of the halls, so that was bigger, so you could pass through. And then,
Yeah.
but that's an enormously expensive operation.
Yeah.
And to be very honest, I'm not really looking for more square meters.
Mm.
Because, like you say, I think the bigger it gets, uh, I think I think it will change some of the atmosphere as well. Because you have to fill up space, and I really don't like those shows where they have a lot of space and they're wasting it by
Mm.
making these squares with trade tables or club tables, whatever they are, and then in the middle there's just a pile of junk, empty boxes and shit, and everybody takes it along, and it just looks like crap. And they're just wasting their space. And it looks as if they have a
Mm.
huge show, and they do, because they have a lot of surface. But basically, they could use half of that if they would use the space more sparsely, so they can save a lot of money actually. But yeah, I think reputation is a big thing for a lot of people. So, and also I think I I also heard, if I heard back that they heard somebody talk or whatever it was in some forum or whatever, that we've reached our peak, and that from now on it will only go down. And I think, yeah, right, but I mean, based on what? Based on what? I think
Well,
we haven't reached our full potential yet.
maybe it's a backhand compliment. Maybe it's they don't think that any show could get better than that. That that's as good as a show
Uh,
can get.
yeah, well, we can get better. We will
Yeah.
get
Well,
better.
I was talking to Adrian Davies and Tracy and the guys about this, and we said the same every year. It can't get any better than this, and every year it does get a bit better than last year. So
Those
I
two
don't know how you
guys,
do it, but you do it.
those two guys are addicted. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. I
I'm
mean,
a,
they're the original
I'm a,
American converts.
I'm a dealer.
Yeah,
I'm a dealer.
yeah. You gave them a taste, and now they're coming back again and again.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. No, but yeah, but it's yeah, and I really think it's the yeah, the complete atmosphere that makes people come back year after year. I've been speaking to one of the Americans, and I said, "Is this your first time here?"
Hmm.
Dumb question. No, it was the first time at World Model Expo in 2022, and then he came back last year with his wife. He came back this year with his wife, and I'm just and that just amazes me when you have a conversation like that with people. Like I think it was on Thursday evening that we had that conversation because we were sitting outside because the weather was actually not that bad. It was actually pretty good for October,
Mm.
and so we were sitting there with a group of people, and it was. I know you hear those stories about why they come back and that they're so, you know, anxious to see the show again, and it gives me goosebumps every now and then. It's amazing. I don't start crying over it, but it's it's amazing to also to
It
get
must be very gratifying, all the work and everything you put into it. It's
yeah
great that people come and everything, but when people really get something like that out of it, it must be very rewarding.
yeah I think so, and yeah, and of course there'll always be people disappointed, especially in the
Yeah,
competition when you don't win anything or don't win what you expected.
yeah.
And I saw some faces coming up to the stage this year that I thought, okay, that's not a happy person, but that's what it is. I mean, I
I'm
think
laughing. Sorry,
no, well, you should.
I get a bit of Schadenfreude sometimes.
Well, yeah, but that's what it
It's just
is.
when someone thinks I should win gold and they don't. It's like, and I'm laughing because I do it too. I think,
We've
oh
all
yeah,
been there.
I'm
We've
going to
all
do
been
it this
there.
year. I'm going to win gold, and I get bronze, and I'm like, what the fuck? But
Yeah,
so, but you have to laugh, don't you? You know.
yeah, and then Per Olaf Lund comes and he puts his stuff next to your stuff, and you think, okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Let's go have a beer.
It's like on the one hand, please, her enough, don't bring anything this year, but on the other hand, please do bring it because I'd love to see it. So you kind of
Exactly.
cool, you know.
If there's one person that you want to see his stuff,
Yeah,
then it's
yeah.
his. But yeah, and I think that's the good thing, of the show.
Mm,
But it's difficult to manage your expectations. I mean, I have the
yeah.
same problem. If when I finish something and I bring it to a contest, you
You
hope it
still
wins
make
some.
models?
Uh, I don't know. I,
You
I
got
got
time?
I got stuff on the table here, but yeah, I start new things every now and then because last this summer we went to the UK to the Fen show, and we also paid a visit to Warhammer World,
Yep.
and I bought two Warhammer kits. So
Oh, good, good.
and what I'm actually working on is something that was left over from something Margot did a couple of years ago from Warhammer. So yeah, I'm doing something with dice and ghosts, for example,
Mm.
and I still have a couple of AFVs standing, and I still have my sculpting nightmare project at hand, and I don't know. I have
So you got a shelf of shame too, then,
uh,
like everyone else.
well, it's more a room of shame by now, but yeah, it's it's becoming a bit. But I do make, but yeah, the thing is, I can't. Sometimes I just can't be asked to make that. I still have two vehicles that I need to finish, and I just can't be asked because it's. To be honest, I admire people who can make a new tank every 3 4 months, but I get bored as hell if I do the same thing. You don't do the same thing over and over, but it's the same routine more or less.
The biggest problem I have with it now, I mean, I've always been an AFE modeler mainly, but I find now I've got a few that could be finished very quickly and very easily, but it's very hard to find something about it that really intrigues you, if you see what I mean.
Yeah,
That to come up with an idea of making something different with
but
a vehicle.
if I would have persevered in that, I would have probably become a better modeler.
Yeah, maybe.
but
A better AFE modeler, maybe. But
I don't really care.
yeah,
I just try to make things that I like and I really care about, and that really have, well, okay, not necessarily, well, yeah, a story, or I want to show something with it, or I want to.
yeah,
Yeah, I do want to tell a story with it, whatever that story may be. But yeah, and I'm not the best modeler in the world, but I've had my share of medals, gold ones even. So and in good competitions, and
yeah.
some best of shows. So I'm not complaining there, but I just don't model enough, and that's, the next couple of months I will do some more modeling. But on the other hand, SMC 2025 is also going through my mind, because no matter what, Margot and I, we still talk about things for
Mm,
next year, and with the guys of the club and the team, we people come up with new ideas. Well, one thing we had new with this year was that we had, for the backpacks, we had we had a wardrobe, and people just parked their shit up there, and it was full, full, full. We never we never expected that to happen. It was just actually to make sure that people took off their backpacks and just left them without complaining, and they were still guarded. But
oh, in the contest,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
contest, well, we'll
yeah,
move it outside of the contest room next year.
yeah.
But yeah,
You had
yeah,
like a cloakroom system, didn't you,
yep,
with a tab you get and
yep.
all that sort of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because yeah, well, one of the guys in our club has been hammering on that, and he said, "Listen, you have to do it because all these backpacks in the competition room is a drag." And okay, yeah, you're right. And last two years, we kind of pushed people to leave their
Mm,
bags at a certain point, but they were unguarded. And I said, "Listen, you can ask people to put down their bags, but if just some bozo takes one, because you don't know whose it is, right? So they
yeah.
can take anything, and then we're screwed because we're responsible because we told them to put down the bags outside of the competition room. So because I had a lot of volunteers this year, I could actually man
Mm.
that wardrobe. So they so we was we had people taking care of that. So yeah, what can you do?
It's the little things.
Yeah, that is exactly that's
Yeah,
what makes it from a 9.5 maybe to a 9.52. I don't know.
yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I guess you have to work all those. That's how you improve now, and you work all the little things you can do just to make it slightly
Yeah.
better and slightly better.
Stuff nobody really cares about probably, but for us it's a bit sometimes it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Well, if it becomes bigger, you have responsibilities, and that sounds a bit heavy, but that makes it different from other shows as well. If you have a small show where a couple of hundred people show up in a gym, whatever,
Mm,
um, it's okay. People go in, go out. It's not a big deal. But if you have 5,000 people running around, well, let's say 3,500 a
mm,
day or whatever, it becomes a bit more, you know, responsibility becomes a bit bigger. So you really have to think
yeah.
about it. I mean, you can't dismiss every piece of advice that you get for crowd management or whatever. I mean, you have to think about those things. So yeah, that's it. I mean, yeah, it becomes people say, "Oh, it's also professional." I said, "No, we're just a bunch of amateurs. That's a hobby that gone wild a bit." But yeah, but in terms of some things, it has become professional.
I think you're kind of a professional in the attitude in that every year you look at it and you look at what worked, what didn't work, and you sort of critically analyze it and decide to do things differently.
Yeah,
And you learn every year
yeah,
on next year. And whereas a lot of people, naming those shows names,
no.
seem to take the attitude that it worked fine last year, we'll just do that next year.
Well, that's what killed Euro. Well, that's one of the things that killed Euro Militaire.
Yeah.
Just leaning back and you know, there's nothing going on, nothing, no changes, because um, like I said, we tried to listen to people's advice, and again, it was Tue who said, "Listen, in the fantasy painting, the level in the masters class can be insane."
Mm.
And it is, because there are a lot of people that paint professionally. They they paint. That's what they do. That's a job.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for amateurs that only paint once in a while to keep up with that level. So we have, for all categories, we have standard and masters level. And for fantasy painting, we decided to do an intermediate level. So we have a standard and advanced and a masters next year. So we said, okay, everybody, that if you win a gold medal in standard this year, you don't have to go to masters. Up to you. If you want, you can do that. But what you usually see is that if people, especially with fantasy painting, you see a lot of people going to masters and then get pretty how to say that, disappointed for a couple of years because they don't stand a chance of winning anything. And I know that winning a medal should not be your drive to be in this hobby, but it sure helps to keep the motivation alive. I think if you every now and then you win something or whatever, people need some gratification for something. And and getting medals in contests is one of those things. I think getting compliments from people about your work is maybe more fulfilling or more. Well, to me, it is anyway.
Depends who they're coming from.
Well, if Jean Bernard says to me, "I saw this and that diorama from you, and I think it's just extremely creative and thing," you I used to think, okay, so what he actually means is that the execution is shit, but the ideas is nice. But now I've grown up, and I really I can take a compliment when I get one. So yeah.
One thing I love about Jean Bernard is he doesn't bullshit.
No, he doesn't beat around the
He
bush.
doesn't mince his words. Yeah, he just tells you what he thinks.
Yeah. So and coming from him, that's I think that's a compliment.
But I mean, from random people on the internet, sometimes there's not a lot of value in well done or that's great.
No,
see,
but but then again,
pretty much anything gets the same response.
Margot and I, we travel to so many shows, we see so many people, and we see so many contests, and I don't participate in many, but Margot does it more often because obviously she finishes stuff, and but still the most important thing of going to a show anyway is to meet people and to talk to people. And obviously we go also to promote our show and try to find judges for next year and try to find people to do workshops for next year. I know you can always do all that stuff online, and we do mostly online, whatever. But having a face-to-face conversation is unbeatable about any subject. I think it keeps it, and it keeps the tone, polite. I think in most cases as well, which is a bit lack on the interweb. So yeah.
Well, there's less misunderstanding face to face as well because you're
Exactly.
getting the vocal tone and the body language and everything else. And
exactly. So
sometimes on the internet, people think, well, he's having a go, and it's just a slightly weird way it's phrased or something, and there's no offense intended, and before you know it, there's a massive argument.
Yeah, and honestly, in a face-to-face conversation, you can say a lot more in 30 minutes than you can say in typing thousands of words, because you keep sending emails back and forth or messages back and forth, and it just drives me nuts sometimes. All that online stuff, it's taking so much of your time sometimes. It's it's just comes
Well,
with
that really answers my last question, which was, what place do you think physical hobby events have in the second decade of the 21st century?
Most of them, not a big place. I think only the ones that try to keep up with the time, with the changes in the hobby. Look for I'm of course I'm preaching. Okay, but yeah, I think that's what we do. We try to keep up with the state of the hobby and the development in the hobby in general. And yes, a lot of that happens in figure painting, especially in fantasy figure painting. But that's not our only goal. I mean, I still want to have more scale modeling in the competition, but also at the show. I'm still looking for more manufacturers to be present at the show, scale model manufacturers. But I think if a show is not really open to changes, it'll die because then it
Yeah.
will be a show for old farts like me over 60 that and there's an audience for it,
Yeah.
but that audience is getting smaller by nature. I mean,
Every
unfortunately,
day.
we
Yeah.
don't no, nobody lives forever, and
Nope.
yeah, but you see that, unfortunately. Well, or
we
maybe
might
maybe
we might
fortunately,
stash
actually.
like we're going to live forever, but
Nah, well, I don't know. Given the state of the world, I'm not sure if I would like
yeah.
to see that. Maybe I don't want to see the world how in 50 years, but um, it's. I think that for a lot of these smaller shows, they won't exist for another decade
Mm.
or two. No, I think within a decade, and I think only the bigger shows or the ones that have something to offer, whatever that may be, um, will survive. I mean, if you look at the Motion show, which is a different show than we have, much different, of course, also an atmosphere and everything, but they have a huge competition with a lot of models. So, if that's your thing, then it's a really good show to go to, and I think that's if that's what appeals to you, then you will go to that show for the next decade as well. Um, but there are a lot of shows that should reinvent themselves. Actually, I think because one of the other reasons that we ever started SMC was that we thought a lot of other shows were boring,
Mm.
and we thought we could do it better. Uh, and I
Well, a
know
lot of shows, if it's a whole weekend, you go and in the first 3 hours you've kind of seen the show. That's it.
that's it. Yeah, if
But
you're
I
lucky.
always come away from SMC feeling like there's stuff I missed.
Yeah, well, that's what I always say. That's the idea. You have to go back and say, "Oh shit, I missed this and I missed that. I
Mm.
have to come back next year." Because there is just too much to see in 2 days. I mean, I told you before of the whole competition, and even
Mm.
I was in the competition room during judging for most of the time. I saw absolutely nothing of the whole competition. I just had to wait for the pictures. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, you
Yeah.
organize a show that you want that's a show that you want to see for yourself. Huh? You
Based on
organize
the
it.
idea of what you think is a perfect show, and then you don't get to look at it.
Yeah, 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 and you don't get to see any of it. I enjoy it, but not in the way you intend to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I just get the gratification and the joy of just
Of
seeing
giving it to other people, basically.
giving yeah, seeing all these smiling faces. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unbeatable, and it's just great. Yeah, so yeah, we will. But like I said, we will have some changes, and nothing too dramatic, actually. I mean, maybe it sounds more than it will be. It's just a bit shifting stuff from A to B and being a bit more spacey. But I mean, I mean,
Pushing it from 95 to 96%.
yeah, and NH is not going to expand anyway because they still have to recover from the pandemic,
Mm.
like a lot of those kind of
Yeah.
a lot of those companies, and so yeah, so and I'm really not looking for more square meters. I think we're fine as it is. Keeps the atmosphere nice. Uh, and it's like you say yourself. I mean, you don't have enough time to see everything
Yeah.
anyway. Whether you're behind the stand or not, if you're a visitor, you still don't see everything. And yeah, and I think especially shows. I've been to well, yeah, let's not name anything, but I've been to a bigger show
Mm.
where I didn't even need 3 hours to get around, and
Mm.
I was there for 2 days, and it was like, yeah, right. What the heck am I doing here? It was
Yeah.
just boring stuff. That's a bit sad, actually. So
Mm.
the only thing you end up is drinking more then during the day because otherwise you get bored. But yeah,
Quantity is not always quality.
no, 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 exactly. And because people say, "Oh, you might be the biggest show in the world." So I don't know, and I don't care.
Mm.
First of all, Shitsuoka in Japan is much bigger. It's a much different show, but it's much
I
bigger.
think it's probably the biggest. Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, I don't care. I mean, it's not a pissing
Yeah.
contest. I just want to make the show as good as I can make it, and we have a great team that helps establishing that. So what more can you wish for? and they're all enthusiastic for next year already. So yeah, what more can I wish for?
Well, that's probably the perfect place to end. So, Robert, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
I think it's especially interesting that Robert and the SMC team is so focused on bringing us a truly good show rather than the biggest, and that character and nature of the show are his primary concern. I think it augurs very well for the future, and as we always say, if you haven't been, you really do need to go. And remember, all are welcome at SMC. You can find everything you need at scalemodelchallenge.com. Although I have been away, I have an exciting lineup of shows planned for the next couple of months, including the return of the series where two modelers interview each other, a new format episode about the anatomy of a project, and of course more themed episode on different philosophical aspects of and approaches to model making. All that remains for me to do this episode is to thank Robert and Scale Model Challenge for their continued support, and to thank the Model Podcast Patreon patrons. If you would like to support the show for any amount from $1 a month, please go to patreon.com/themodelphilosopher. There are costs associated with running this show, and I would like to be able to increase the offer for those that do support it, so please do support if you can. This week's show was brought to you by Stuart, Scott, Plastic Scholar, Resurrected DM, Eddie, Robert, Stephen, Christian, Carlos, Paul, Shafe, Flip, and John. Thank you all for your support. It really does mean a lot to me and really does help with producing this show. Now remember, you can hear other model podcasts of different styles and flavours at modelpodcast.com, and there really is a show out there for everyone. Don't forget, you can find an illustrated transcript of this episode and other episodes at modelphilosopher.com. Thanks for listening and enjoy your model building.